This is an introduction to how to solve Sudoku puzzles. This Sudoku puzzle right here that we have before us is taken from my book, Sudoku Puzzles Easy to Hard. You can find a link to the book on Amazon in the description of this video. So a Sudoku puzzle is a puzzle where we have 9 big boxes here, and in each of these big boxes we have 9 smaller boxes. And in this puzzle, your goal is to fill in the remaining numbers 1 through 9 so that we have exactly 1 through 9 in every single column, 1 through 9 in every single row, and 1 through 9 in each of these big boxes. And so we want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 in each row, column, and box. And we never want, so that means we can't repeat in a row. So we can't have like 1 in this part of the box and 1 in another part of the box. We also can't have, 2 in this column and then 2 over here as well, which we do. And we also can't have a repeater in the same row. So we can't have like 7 here and then 7 over here as well. So we can use that information to logically infer where all of the other numbers in these blank boxes, what all those numbers have to be. So let's talk about how to do that. So if like we already said, if we find out that, hey, there's an 8 here, right? Let's take this 8 on top. That means that there can't be an 8 in any of these 3 boxes here. Because if there was, then we'd have 2 8s in this same row. And that's just not a lot, because we have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Each one of those numbers has to be in this row of 9 boxes. So there's just no room for another 8. So that means there's no 8 here. Well, there's also an 8 right here, which, if we follow, shows us that there's no other 8s in this row either. So we're down to these 2 blank boxes for the 8 that's going to be in this big box. And we know there's got to be an 8 here somewhere, but it's not going to be here, and it's not going to be here. So where can it be? Well, let's go down here and we find that there's an 8 in this far right column already, which eliminates this column. And of course, this box is already filled up with a 3, and we only get 1 number in each of these small boxes. So this is right out. That leaves only this box right here for our 8. So we know where the 8's going to be in this big box. So that's how we make a very simple logical inference in Sudoku. And we can make a lot of those logical inferences in these kind of easier games. Let's go ahead and just see if we can find another one. So if we see this 5, 5 means there's no 5's in this column. This 5 means there's no 5's in this column. And this 5 here means there's no 5's in this row. There are no 5's here, no 5's here, and no 5's here. Well, that only leaves 1 box left where we could possibly have our 5. It's got to go right here on the top left. So what happens if we can't find any of those inferences? And sometimes it does get a little more complex than that. It gets a little harder than that. So let's look at one of those situations. For instance, no 9's are in this bottom box. There are no 9's down here. Let's figure out where a 9 could go, because we don't know yet where it's going to be. We know there's going to be one somewhere. We just don't know where. The 9 here in this column says, oh, no 9 here. So there's going to be a 9 somewhere in our right column. Okay. Well, we have a 9 here, so it's not going to be in this spot. So we're down to 2 spots, and we don't know where their 9's going to be over here. So it seems like we can't figure out yet where the 9 is. Okay, well, there's actually one more interesting piece of information, which is that the 9 over here in this column eliminates 9's from either of these 2 boxes. So consider this bottom middle big box. Right, where can 9's go here? Well, we can't figure out the exact placement. We know there's no 9's here, and there's no 9's here. So I'm just going to mark it up for ease, although you should probably do this mentally when you solve the puzzles. No 9's in either of these spots, or this spot right here. So that only leaves these 2 positions for potential 9's. We can either have a 9 here or here. We just don't know which. but we will have a 9 in one of these two spots. Well, that means that because there's going to be a 9 that's either in this spot or this spot, that there can't be a 9 here. Because even though we don't know where the 9 is, we know that it must be here somewhere in one of these two positions. And either way, no matter which one is true, there cannot be a 9 in this row for our bottom left big box. It just doesn't work. So no 9 here, no 9 here, no 9 here, no 9 here because of this column, and no 9 here, and now we can infer where our 9 goes. That kind of more complex inference will allow you to move forward in these puzzles, even when there doesn't seem to be any inferences available. So you kind of have to take into account, okay, so maybe there's more information here than meets the eye. And that's where these games really get fun, because we're allowed to make more interesting, more complex logical deduction. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to walk you through the remainder of this game. And I'm going to solve this puzzle just step by step. And I don't have the answer before me. I'm going to have to figure it out as I go. So, but we'll go through and I'll show you how to solve these puzzles from beginning to end. And it may seem impossible at this point. It may seem like you have to do some guesswork somewhere. But the reality is that you don't. You never have to guess in Sudoku. And if you are guessing, then you're playing the game wrong. Sudoku is all about logical deductions, logical inferences. We never want to guess. And I'm going to show you how we can solve this game without ever needing to guess at any point. So let's go through, let's find some more places where we can fill in numbers and logically infer where those numbers go. So I'm going to start here because we have, or rather I'm going to start here in this box to the right, because I notice there's only 2 boxes left that are empty, and that just seems like things are pretty limited here. So it draws my attention. So what's missing from this box is, well, we have 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Well, we're missing 3 and 4. Well, we know there's a 3 in this column, so we can't have a 3 here, which means that 3 must go here instead, because there's just nowhere else for the 3 to go. And that, of course, means that this must be a 4. So we take that information and we say, okay, so we have a 3 in this column and a 3 in this column. Okay, and now we have a 3 here and a 3 here. Well, there's only one spot for a 3 in this bottom right big box, and that's right here. The 3 just can't go anywhere else in this box. There's just no room for it. Okay, so we have what's missing now in this bottom is we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9. So we're missing 2, 4, and 6. So let's just look around and see if we can find any 2, 4s, or 6s to help guide us here. Well, we know there's a 6 here. But we can't figure out, we can't narrow down any further where the 6s are going to go. But that does tell us that the 6 has to be in one of these two positions right here. There's either going to be a 6 here or here. We just don't know which. So that means, of course, that since the 6 has to be in one of these two, that there can't be 6s here or here. Just not allowed. So there's no 6s here, no 6s here, and that only leaves this position left for a 6 in this top box. So I initially was looking for numbers here, but then I found that, oh, 6s. I found a way to make an inference up here by just taking these columns, or taking these 2 columns with 6s, and seeing if that gave me some more information about my top box, and it did. So I'm looking here in this middle box, and I'm seeing that we have 2s in this row, and a 2 here coming out of this column. That only leaves us with this square remaining for a 2 in this big box. And we can take that information and say 2 in this column, 2 in this column, and then we have 2 in this row, and because that eliminates these positions in this row, there's only one spot left for a 2, and that's right here. Now we have enough information to infer something in our far right box, in the bottom right. We have 2 that can't go in either one of these squares. That means the only position left in this big box that a 2 could go is right here. That's just the only place left where we could have a 2. Nowhere else will do. This 2, of course, we can follow up and say, oh, no 2's in this column. And because we have no 2's in this row, we must now have a 2 here. Because, again, there's just nowhere else where that 2 could go in this big box. So once again, let's kind of just say, what do we have left in this big box? Because we're really limiting things. And we have 1, 4, and 9 remaining. Well, no 9's are allowed in this column, so this must be a 9. And this can't be a 4, so this has to be, because there's no 4's allowed here. So this has to be 4, leaving this as 1. So now we have all but 1 in this column, and we actually have all but 1 in this column as well. So we can just fill those spots in. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we're missing 6. And we have 7, 8, and 9. So we're going to put 6 right here. And now we can either count this column or count this box. Either way, the missing number will be the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're missing 4 in both this column and in this box. So we're going to put 4 right here. And that gives us enough information to infer something about this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're missing 7 in this row. We're just following on the inferences that we've already made to make more and more logical inferences on the diagram. And we've already filled up a large portion of this Sudoku board. So we have another opportunity here. We have a 4, and we can follow this 4 down this column and see, oh, no 4's are allowed here. And we can't infer exactly where in this column that we're going to be putting this 4. We don't know if it's going to be this spot or this spot, but either way, because these can't be 4's, one of these two has to be. And that means that since one of these two has to be a 4, that we can say, oh, no 4's here. And because of this column, no 4's go here either. So we're down to here or here for 4. And of course we can narrow that down further just by looking at this row and saying, oh, no 4's here. So this is the only spot where 4's are going to be allowed in this big box. So now we can look at this big box and say, what else is missing? Well, 1 is missing from this box, but we don't know where to put 1. We can say 1's not going to go here, and that's about it. But where we have 2, let's look at 3. So 3 can't go here, and 3 can't go here, which means that there must be a 3 here, because it's the only empty square remaining where there could be a 3 in this big box. So now, with that, we can say, well, all right, I know there's no 1 here, which means 1 has to be in this column. Once again, we can make that similar inference that since there's no 1 here, there has to be 1 here or here. And we can just follow through and say 1, 1. So 1 has to be in one of these two positions, one of these two squares. No 1 here, no 1 here. We're going to have 1 right here. And of course, you may have already noticed and are screaming at your screen that I've left a square open here. So let's go ahead and fill that in with 5, because that's the missing number. So now we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now we're missing 1 and 8 from this big box. We have an 8 in this row. That gives us our 1, finishing up this row, and that means there must be an 8 here. And now we finished this big square as well. So let's go up to our top square and see what's missing. Well, we need a 2. Well, 2 can't be in this row, so we must have a 2 here, since it's the only place a 2 could go in this big box other than this square here. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're missing 6. And that's, of course, going to go in the 1 remaining square in this box. Let's move over to our middle top big box. And what do we miss? We have 1, 2, we need 3. But do we know anything about 3? We know a 3 can't go in this row. We know a 3 can't go in this row. We can't have a 3 in this column, so there must be a 3 right here. Great. Well, let's follow that information and say 3 in this column, 3 in this column. Well, that's going to limit 3's in our middle square, in our middle big box, to this square right here. So now we just, from this middle one here, so this is more limited, we only have 1 and 5 missing. So can we narrow that down? Well, there's going to be a 1 here. There can't be a 1 here, so 1's got to go here because there's no other room for it. 5's going to go right here, and we've finished up this big square as well. So let's go here. 1, 2, 3. We're missing 4. Is there anything we can do with 4? Well, we know there won't be a 4 in this row. We know there won't be a 4 in this row, so 4 must go right here. And now we're missing 6, 7, and 9. All right, well, there can't be a 6 here, and there can't be a 6 here. It only leaves this square right here for 6, and 7 and 9 remaining. Well, we know there's a 7 right here, so there can't be a 7 here. Therefore, the only spot where a 7 could go is right here, leaving 9 right here. Let's go down here to our bottom middle big box and say, okay, well, I know I'm missing 9, so 9 and 9. Well, that leaves only these 2 squares left for 9. We can't have a 9 here, therefore there must be a 9 right here. So what's left? Well, 1. Well, we can't have a 1 here. 1 column, 1 column. That eliminates this square right here, this square right here. We can only have 1 square left for a 1, and it's going to be right here. So now 1, 2, 3, we're just missing 4 and 7 from this bottom middle box. So there's not going to be a 7 here, therefore there must be a 4 because it's the only thing remaining that could go in this square. We could also infer that by just looking at this column and say, oh, we have everything but 4 in this column, so therefore 4 must go here. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're missing 7. And notice again that we're missing 7 both from this big box and from this column. And this is good evidence that we're solving the game correctly because we keep running into these scenarios where the same number fills in both the square and the column. And one of the hallmarks, one of the big parts of a Sudoku puzzle is that there's only one possible solution. And this is why we don't guess, because a long time, if you start guessing, you're going to find that, 20, 30, 40 moves in, that, oh no, I run into a contradiction where I don't have room for a 7, or I need a different thing for my column than what I need for my square, and that's, or for my big box, and that means you have to start over. So you want to make sure that every move you make is intentional and that you can logically infer it. So we're almost done here. We're only missing 4 squares left from our bottom left big box, and we have 1, 2, 3. We need 4. So we can't have a 4 in this row. We can't have a 4 in this column, so 4 is going to have to go here. That means, of course, that this column only has 1 missing from it, and it's missing an 8. So let's put our 8 right here. We could have also inferred that just by looking at, 8, 8, and 8. Either way, we get the same answer. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're missing 5 and 6. So 6 is in this row, so we're just going to put 5 here because it's what's missing from this row. And of course 6 is going to go right here. And we have solved the Sudoku puzzle with no guessing required. We've solved it with inferring every single step of the way. And now we have a situation, the only possible situation given our starting numbers in this puzzle, where we have 9 separate numbers in every single big box, in every single row, in every single column. I find Sudoku to be a really good way to sharpen your logical skills, and it requires some patience and that you double check your work. And you may not have seen me doing it, but after every single time I put down a number, I was very quickly with my eyes darting to say, okay, did I really infer that? Do I really know that? Did I make a mistake? Because if you make a mistake, you're really going to regret it 10, 15 numbers later when you have to just erase everything and start over. So it forces you to be patient. It forces you to kind of double check your work. These are all good skills to have if you're, say, preparing for a test like the LSAT, where logical inferences are really important, especially in something like logic games. But you want to make sure that your work is good and that you can depend on it and that you can use it to make further logical deductions. And that's exactly what we're doing here. I did a lot of Sudoku in my personal LSAT prep. And of course now I'm the author of a Sudoku book, and I think it's just a really good use of your time, especially if you say have 5-10 minutes here or there riding on the bus or before class. It's just a good way to sharpen those logical skills.